What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this Solo movie review. So, a little bit of a preamble here. With Solo, I wasn't excited for this movie whatsoever. This may be from the sheer fact that, well, perhaps Star Wars: The Last Jedi had tainted me just a bit. And personally, maybe I thought that this story didn't really need to be told, because there wasn't really much intrigue, and to be honest, Han Solo is pretty much Harrison Ford. They are one and the same person. So with that in mind, I went into this movie expecting to be just a bit disappointed. However, I've come out and I was shocked. I absolutely thoroughly loved this movie. It was very much a big, bombastic heist movie, and while it wasn't particularly a Star Wars movie, it had a lot to do with the world building, and throughout the movie we had hints towards where they're going next with the anthology. We had a major cameo, and we saw the birth of the rebellion, well, a part of it. But this is very much what Rogue One was. It was a story which, to be honest, didn't need to actually be told. We could have pretty much lived without it, but after The Last Jedi, even though I didn't like it, new Star Wars is always new Star Wars, and I will always keep coming back to this franchise, because for me, it is my biggest love out of everything. I mean, you've got DC, you've got Marvel, and yeah, Star Wars is the first sci-fi movie I ever watched, and I absolutely fell in love with the world, and Han Solo is the epitome of cinema, swagger, and cool. And the problem was that we had someone who is a relatively unknown. He isn't a big actor. Perhaps I think that maybe that was a good idea, and I can see why they went with the casting here, because the trailers didn't really show him in the right light. But this movie showed us the true Han Solo, the Han Solo that we have in our minds, the swagger, the bad boy action, but really, he's a pretty nice dude. He has a heart of gold. He just doesn't really want to go out of his way, or, you know, he just wants the money to live this high life pirate lifestyle, but he always falls and makes the right decision. So, as such, Alden Ehrenreich here, he was great. He did turn on the Harrison Ford charm here. Maybe not the charm, but he certainly fit the role, and the quips, the funny moments and things like that. This was very much an early version of Han Solo. So while we had the finished product in Star Wars: A New Hope, this here was very much the work in progress, the very arrogant and kind of braggadocious version, the younger version of a Han Solo, which personally I can certainly see how this would be the early version as opposed to the refined version, as opposed to, you know, the refined coaxium, you know, references to the movie there, the whole plot, the whole MacGuffin of the movie. But overall, it was serviceable, and the story certainly fit Han Solo. I think that the story of him trying to save his one-time girlfriend on Corellia, and I thought that was really cool. I really did like that. Emilia Clarke was absolutely fantastic, and the performances in this movie were stunning. Woody Harrelson, again, amazing, just as always. Emilia Clarke playing that kind of troubled kind of character, and I really do like the fact that while he did stumble across the girl that he loved, the girl that he tried so hard to get back to, well, as we saw over time, it changes people, and she has changed, or at least she's done things she's not proud of, to get out of the world. And while he's so desperately trying to get back to that kind of rose-tinted world of his girl, well, I guess that once time passes, things just change a bit too much. So I did like that, the really clever characterization of those two characters. It worked really, really well, because sometimes you just gotta let the past be the past. Some really sage life lessons we can get there from Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, Lando. The Lando question here was something which I was a bit worried about. So, of course, Lando Calrissian, one of the most effortlessly cool characters. I mean, if Han Solo is a just cool as a nice glass of iced tea on a hot summer's day, well, Lando Calrissian, this dude is straight up Italian gelato. He's just smooth, crisp, and cool. And, well, in this case, this is what we got. We got Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, playing the role, while I was worried that this character, wasn't sure how he would fit. I think that he worked really, really well. And like I said with Han Solo, this is the early version of Lando. This is someone who has it all. He has the look, he has the ship, he has everything that Han Solo actually wants. But he just isn't quite there yet. He doesn't have everything. He's not in charge of Cloud City just yet, and well, he's not refined just yet as well. So I think that was really cool. Donald Glover did a fantastic job of playing the iconic Lando Calrissian, and I really do like how we saw many things. So, of course, there are references aplenty. And throughout this, we saw the Kessel Run, which was amazing. We saw how the Millennium Falcon was won by Han Solo, which was really, really cool. I did love the way that was done with the whole thing within his, wrist. And it worked. It did work very, very well. And we saw Han Solo at the end of the movie once he has become Han Solo. I know that doesn't really make any sense because he's always been Han Solo, but once he's become that character, once he's been on this journey, this formative journey, well, we see him get that ship, that iconic ship. So it's really, really good stuff there. The storyline worked really, really well, I think. The whole of him, we learn his story before his Corellia lifestyle, and how he was kicked out of the academy, the Imperial Academy, like the Navy there, and we saw him in a war on another planet as well. So we saw a lot of the Empire, and what I really did like with Rogue One was how we saw the Empire kind of forming and things like that, the formative years, and we saw the Empire here and the spread that it had. Now, while Rogue One very much was an anthology movie focusing everything on the kind of destruction of the Death Star, this super weapon, well, this focused on the human stories, and as we saw with the enemies, the Marauders that were chasing down the Beckett's crew, they were the very, very early version of the rebellion, or at least part of it. They were a group of people who've decided we've had enough. They're sort of a rebellion light. They're a very early version of that kind of rebellion we know and love. And I expect that they will go on to join the full-on resistance in A New Hope that we saw there in that movie. And I thought that was a really cool reveal. I thought that was a nice little reveal. I thought they were a bit kind of generic pirate villains, but I did like the fact that they were trying to sort of not just take on the Empire, because we know that the Empire are completely evil and things like that, but I did like, and I absolutely loved the fact that they were taking on people who were collaborators of the Empire. That was a nice little touch there at the end, and of course we did have them working with the Hutts and things like that, and we did have them possibly, I expect this collective, this Crimson Dawn, I expect that they were providing stuff to the Imperials as well. So they were allowed to exist how they were because they were providing doing a valuable service to the Empire, and that's why they were allowed to kind of go on and work out how they are now. Now, there were a few parts of the movie which I didn't like. I hated Lando Calrissian's droid. I thought he was absolutely terrible. A weird sort of social justice warrior droid, sort of droid lives matter character, and it was just beyond cringe when Lando's like, "Oh, do you want anything else?" And she goes, "You're right." I was just like, I literally just went, for fuck's sake, in the movie, because it was just cringe. It just really was complete and utter cringe. It was just shoehorned in. It was a message which just completely failed and was just really, really terrible. But the rest of the movie was written really, really well. I can definitely see Lord Miller's kind of input on this. It was the script at some points was very similar to, or the kind of direction was very similar to what we had over on the Lego Movie. Very funny jokes, obviously. So I'm not sure how much of this kind of acting and directing was kept from those two, but the Ron Howard impact, he didn't really have much of a signature style from him, in my opinion, but a lot of the shots were absolutely stunning. We had moments where we saw them breaking into the sort of where we've got the Millennium Falcon and the original planet for there, and I thought that was really cool, where it just kind of had the slow kind of light panning on Lando. A lot of the shots just were stunning, especially that whole thing when they were in space and doing the Kessel Run in 12 seconds, and as we found out, he did round that down a little bit, which was pretty funny. And I love the whole natural part of Chewbacca. A lot of the time, these early movies can really kind of shoehorn a lot of this stuff in. It can be like, hey, you remember this guy? And you're just like, oh, it's really kind of forced in there, just so we get to remember all of the other stuff that's happened in the future. But the meeting with Chewie was absolutely fantastic. Reminded me of the Sarlacc pit from Return of the Jedi. Also mixed with the actual kind of Jabba the Hutt cave as well. So kind of combination there. Probably more Jabba the Hutt sort of cage thing where we fought that monster. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good movie. And if I look beyond the social justice warrior droid, it was very, very good. It did what it needed to do. But I loved the ending. I love the fact that Han Solo was then left to wander the world with Chewie, and we saw some foreshadowing of him helping out the Resistance as well, and the fact that we learn why he actually wanted to go to Tatooine, because he wanted to go and find this gangster. Now, this gangster on Tatooine is, of course, who I'm expecting it to be, is Jabba the Hutt. As we learn, Jabba the Hutt does have it out for our friend Han Solo, which was pretty funny. So I really did like that, the fact that then this sets up that whole thing. And then again, like I said, there was a lot of mentions as well. When they were mentioning the Caraxian, we had Scarif, of course, being the central database planet from Rogue One, and we also had the mention of Bosk, one of the bounty hunters sent to go and take out the group in, well, the kind of Holy Trinity group, of course, Luke Skywalker. And we had a major drawback or throwback to Phantom Menace with the absolutely major cameo, which was Darth Maul. So that was massive. So the movie as a whole was absolutely fantastic. But let's talk about Darth Maul here, which absolutely blew my mind. I have been trying to avoid as much spoilers and talk about this as much as possible because, well, this is huge. This is like Red Skull level, except we were kind of expected that, but Darth Maul I didn't expect to turn up for quite some time in the Star Wars universe again, at least in the movies, because we've had him on the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So at the end of Phantom Menace, we did have him die, but he used the Force to survive, went to the Outer Rim, and kind of got some legs built for him, because, you know, he was chopped in half. Now, later on, he locates his brother, Savage Opress, and they go off and fight. And then we do see Darth Maul fight Obi-Wan again in the Clone Wars. They go off and fight, which was really, really badass. And, well, that was it. They escape, and they did have a fight later on where he finally, Obi-Wan fully defeats him for good. But in the meantime, we did have Darth Maul and his brother form the Shadow Collective. So the Shadow Collective was an alliance of really kind of bad dudes, bad criminals working together, including the Pikes, which we had mentioned by Dryden, and we also had the Hutts mentioned as well. So, with that in mind, he did become a leader of a criminal empire. So, this is possibly where the timeline is. We do have the criminal empire, Darth Maul, trying to get revenge on Obi-Wan, but, you know, he's a crime lord. So I'm expecting in the future we will actually see Darth Maul become this character, and we will possibly get a Darth Maul movie next. I highly, highly expect that. And the voice is, of course, Whitwell, the voice actor from Rebels and Clone Wars. So I'm not sure if they're going to go next here with Darth Maul. Will we get a full Darth Maul movie about his time in the wilderness? Or will we simply see a Shadow Collective movie with Kira on Dathomir? So I thought that's going to be cool to see. But that is it for this video. Please drop a like, please subscribe, and I'll see you soon.